This ever happened to you? You're in a normal point, everything seems to be working pretty well, and then all of a sudden you see a little gap in the middle there. You decide, you know what, I'm going to go for it, but bam, doesn't work out so well. In this video, we're going to break it down and show you why that attack sometimes is not the best attack to try. Let's get into it. Let's break down the rally and see what happened. So this is at the 2021 US Open. You can see the sky looks a little stormy there. It was kind of stormy that week. So my partner Tom hits a nice third shot here. We move up. Everything's working out pretty well so far. Ball gets behind me. I'm there in the red shirt. Drop it back in the NVZ. Everything's good. The problem happens right now. So it looks like there's an opening there between our opponents there in the red and the white. From where I'm standing, I say, look at that beautiful opening. I'm going to hit the ball through there. And let's see what happens when I hit it. When I try and hit it through there, I hit. They're able to, the player on the red is able to basically counter attack or volley it, attack down the middle. You can see a big gap between Tom and I there. Not Tom's fault, my fault for being off the court when I hit this attack shot. Let's rerun the rally and break it down step by step from the moment that I'm hitting the ball through the counter attack by our opponents. So what you're going to see here is the moment that I'm hitting this ball, it appears that there's an opening. It appears that there's a gap between them. You can see here what looks to be a decent gap that I can attack. The problem is, and you'll see this easier on the board when I show it to you on the board, but what happens here is I'm attacking at an angle to what appears to be the opening there, or what is the opening there. And because I'm attacking at an angle, that allows the player in red and the player in white each to cover more of my potential shot. Notice the position of our opponents at the moment I'm hitting the ball. The player in the white shirt is about 3 feet off the center line towards the left on his court, and the player in red is properly placed directly across from me, blocking a down the line attack there. That's what creates what appears to be an open space for attack. As I hit the ball, you'll notice that the player in white moves to his right, and now he's on the center line at the moment that the ball gets hit, is getting hit by his partner in red. His partner only has to lean a little bit to his left in order to intercept this ball. So it's a hole that just doesn't exist. It's a gap that appears to exist, but at the time the ball reaches the opponents, the gap is no longer there. The space is no longer there. Either the player in red was going to hit it, as he did, or if he missed it, the player in white was going to come over and hit it anyway. So what looked to be an open space just wasn't open. Another thing I wanted to focus on here, and I'll rewind again to show you at the moment of impact. So at the moment of impact, I'm hitting the ball around my knee level. So I'm hitting the ball underneath the net, right? So I have to hit up on it in order to clear the net. And you'll notice as the ball travels over the net, as it travels over the net, it's going upward. What that means is that the players on the other side now are able to hit a ball that's up. And then as the player in red hits it, he can now hit down on it between Tom and I, putting the ball away. I'm going to rewind it one last time. I want to show you one other thing that happens here. If you notice where I'm standing when I hit this ball is I'm standing on the left sideline. Tom is covering the middle. He's doing a good job of moving over to cover the area that I've vacated. But even with his movement over, what happens is there's a gap between Tom and I now that I've created by moving over to my left to hit this ball. By attacking here, what I'm doing is I'm exposing the gap between Tom and I, and the shot that the player in red opposite us is able to hit is basically almost straight down the gap that I've created, putting the ball away easily between us. Let's look at the rally we just watched on the video on the board. Let's break it down on the board so you can really see the angles from the top. In this board, the blue team is myself and my partner. So my partner Tom's up at the non-volley zone like you saw in the video, and I'm back here getting ready to hit this ball. We're going to start at the point that the ball's here, and I'm going to hit the ball from here. Our opponents are here. So the opponent in the red that was directly opposite me is this player, and then the player in the white was over here. So it looks like there's a nice gap here. It looks like I can take this ball and I can punch it through this nice little gap and hopefully win the rally. So I'm looking at the ball saying, wow, look at all that space over there. I'm going to try and attack it. What happens is, in addition to the height issue that we addressed when we looked at the video, what happens is that this space that looks like it's here really isn't. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is the angle of the ball. So the angle being here, the ball being here, and the opening being here creates a smaller angle than it looks like. If the ball was here, for instance, and you had this kind of an angle, or say you had a dink here in the middle and you had this kind of an opening, then that's going to be a pretty accessible angle or opening that you can attack from this position. When the ball's back here like it was in that rally, what happens is, even though the space is the same distance between the two players, the angle of attack makes it much smaller because I'm coming at it at an angle. What happens then is these two players are able to react to the ball and close down this space more easily than they can if I was closer and could punch it through. First of all, they have more time because the ball is farther away from them. And second of all, as I mentioned a second ago, this angle of attack coming from the side into this space makes it harder for me to punch it through. What ends up happening is you'll recall that the player in the white, as soon as I hit this ball, the player in the white moved over here to close this angle. This player didn't really have to move. He just leaned a little bit this way, and he was able to hit the ball for the winner down the middle here. So basically, these two players are able to very easily close this space down before I can get the ball through there. What that means is that when I'm here and I'm trying to attack this space here for a winner, this space, even though it looks available, really isn't. Let's break down one more rally to show you how an apparent gap between players sometimes is there, particularly when you're attacking from the sideline, when you're attacking from one sideline or the other. This is a mixed doubles match at the PPA Tampa tournament in 2021. What you're going to see here is we're going to do some dinking here, and the ball's going to move back and forth left to right. And as the players move left to right, you're going to see what appears to be a space open. So here I'm going to stop it. I'm taking this dink and I'm going to hit it to my right. So I see an opening to my right to the opponent's left. I'm going to hit it over there to move that team over. So now that team moves over, and then the player in blue opposite, Kenny, hits the ball back to me. I move back away from it and I decide to move it the other way. So now I'm taking the ball and I'm shifting it from the right side to the left side. And what you'll see is as Sue, who's our opponent on the other side in the black, as she goes over to get this ball, there appears to be a gap between Linda on the left side nearest to us and myself there in the red. There appears to be a gap there. The problem is that Linda's properly moving to her left to cover that middle attack. I'm also moving to my left at this moment in order to cover the middle. Let's back it up again to the point where Sue's hitting the ball. It looks to be a gap between Linda and I there. The problem is where the ball is located. So from where Sue is hitting this ball, if she hits the gap there in the middle, she's going to be hitting the ball essentially into my forehand, which is you'll see happens as the ball travels in there. I'm able to make contact with it with my forehand. Now if you flip and look at the other side, so now look at Sue and Kenny on the other side of the court, you'll see there's a gap between them. The difference here is that the ball now is pretty much in the gap. So now I can simply drive it between them through the gap and win the rally. Let's go to the board to break down the last video we watched. On the board right now, myself and my partner are up here in blue. So this is me and this is my partner Linda. And then this is Sue and her partner Kenny, our opponents. And I want to show you how it starts from this point in the rally. The ball was here, and I was going to go from here, and I'm going to move the ball over here. I'm basically changing the angles on the court. So what happens is as this ball comes over here, right? This player's moving over, Sue's moving over, Kenny's moving over, but the other part is that Linda and I are both moving over. So what happens is as Linda's moving over, it looks like there's an opening here. I, however, am sliding over as well. So what happens is, just as with the first point that we broke down on the board, this angle, the angle from which Sue's attacking coming into the middle like this, it makes it much more difficult for her to be able to get that ball through there. If the ball was here, for instance, then punching it straight through might be possible. But when you're coming at it at an angle like this and you're trying to come across like this, what happens is I'm able to stick my paddle out here, as you saw in the video. So I'm able to stick my paddle out to here, and then from here basically punch it through them. And what happens is the reason it's dangerous, and you can see it in this rally in particular, is that once Sue's out here, right, she's basically lost contact with her partner, unless her partner's going to come all the way across, which is not advisable either. So she's basically lost contact with her partner. So if she hits the ball in any kind of attack from here, and we're able to get a hold of that ball, which we did, what we're able to do then is we're able to take the ball that she attacks from here into this zone here, and then all we do is we counter punch it between them, as you saw in the video. It's really easy to counter punch it through the hole. And going back to what we're talking about in terms of angles of attack, remember Sue's attacking at an angle that's basically across the opening, but once she puts the ball here, I'm able to hit the ball directly down through the opening, perpendicular to the opening that's available to me, which is a much more effective attack. Just like I mentioned, if the ball had been here, they'd be able to go through this way. She has to come this way. Once the ball is here, that allows me to attack perpendicular. That allows me to basically punch it through their defense, punch it through that hole that's available. and makes it an easier attack for us. So when you're in this kind of position over here, even if you see what looks to be an opening here, remember that these players, if they know what they're doing, they're closing the space. So the space that looks available to you is probably not available to you. If you're out here, be careful on this type of attack. Next time you're playing, if you get pulled wide like this and you see what appears to be an open space like this that you're going to try and punch the ball through, think twice about it. Sometimes these spaces, especially when you're coming at an angle like this, are not available to you. Consider from here hitting a more defensive shot, maybe a cross-court dink or a dink in the middle, something that can't be counter-attacked, and try to wait for a better spot to attack from rather than from an angle, trying to poke it through the middle. Be well out there.